Yeah, the legalistic mind, the legalistic heart. Someone who says, I'm better than you, and God looks at me with favor because I don't engage in the same things that you engage in. The legalistic thoughts, the legalistic heart. Uh, of course, from a theological standpoint, I'm going to tackle that legalism from a different vantage point, one that you probably never heard before. Now, so brace yourself and just give me a moment before you start saying, man, what is Darren talking about? Okay. Of course, the tree is known by its fruit. Um, Greatest commandment, love the Lord thy God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. The second one is likened to it. Love your neighbor as yourself. All the law and the prophets are summed up in these two commandments. Legalism, just with that right there, is pretty much out the door, especially when you're trying to gain favor from God based on your deeds, on your works, on your actions, your ergon. Paragon, that's the Greek word for works, deeds. But let me look at it, let me approach it from this vantage point and let me just put this in your ear for a moment. Look, many men can't do or don't fall in particular sins or pitfalls, have particular struggles and wrestle with different things because they simply can't, or they simply have not, they don't have the resources or the means whereby they can do those particular things. Now I'm talking about violations of God's commandment. I'm talking about particular sins. Let me give you an example. Take whoremongering, okay, womanizing, pretty much the same thing. Many men aren't whoremongers or womanizers because they aren't a ladies' man per se. You know, Samson was a womanizer, but he was also a strong, mighty dude. So women were probably attracted to him. So therefore he would deal with that kind of thing. Look, if women aren't finding you attractive, then it's probably, you tell me, it's going to be easier to not fall in the pitfall of being a womanizer. You're not dealing with it. You're not struggling with that kind of thing. Let me give you another example. Take anger, but not so much anger and aggression, but, actually, aggression and anger that leads to altercations. Where you may have to throw hands with somebody. Look, you may not be the kind of person that deals with that kind of thing if you're a coward. If you're a fearful individual, then you may walk around with this timidity, okay, that looks like humility and humbleness, when in actuality, you're just really a punk. I've heard this before. You've heard this phrase. Silence is golden. Silence is golden if you're stupid. If you're stupid, then you need to shut up. You need to be silent. But if you're one with wisdom, you have prudence, you have knowledge to give and impart into another person, then your silence is not going to be very golden, will it? It wouldn't be advantageous for a person who's knowledgeable and has wisdom to be quiet all the time. Okay? But there is a time to speak and a time to be quiet. Let me get back to hostility, anger. Look, if you can't fight, then you may be somebody who doesn't deal with Let's just say if you're just someone who's a coward, then you may be someone who doesn't deal with aggression or deal with that kind of thing, with hostility. You may not even deal with anger because you're fearful all the time. Okay? Do you get what I'm saying here? You may not be dealing with particular sins because you're just not the man who would have those particular troubles. You don't have the aptitude. Now, all these things come out of the heart, okay? Wrath, anger, maliciousness, lasciviousness, okay, which is just loose living, loose conduct, fornications, adultery. All these things come from the human heart, granted. But if you're not one who is prone per se, because you're over here as a person that you're really just someone who's kind of tucked tail and ran. You're like this ostrich with their head buried in the sand. You're not kicking up any dust because you're basically just running away from everything. You're not confrontational because you don't like to be confronted. And you're silent, not because you're meek and mild. You're silent because you just don't have anything to say. Okay? I'm going to wrap it up. All right? I'm going to wrap it up with this. Be careful when you look at other people and you think that you're better than them because you don't engage in the same thing that they engage in. You don't have the same hang-ups, same struggles. Okay? You start to develop a legalistic attitude from a legalistic heart. Okay, your sanctification is based on your individuality as God molds and shapes you as an individual. Okay? He fashions our hearts on an individual, in particular basis. And with that, God bless you. I'll talk to you guys next time.